Welcome to the Sweet Science of Fighting Jiu-Jitsu Instructional Channel. We have myself, James, and Ryan. We're going to take you through the first part of the ankle lock series. Typically, this one with the A1 Ashigarami. If you'd watch the 9 leg lock positions, make sure you check that out first. We're going to cover A1 with the ankle lock. Make sure you check the description as well. You can ask Ryan any questions on the private community down there. You can get your matches broken down, and you get access to all the strength and conditioning programs.
We're going to talk about ankle lock position. I want to explain a few things first, just so we can understand kind of what we're trying to achieve here. Ankle locks have been making a bit of a comeback lately. This is one of the first actually leg locks I actually learned, and I actually didn't learn it correctly. It was taught to me a little different. I shouldn't say incorrectly. It was just taught to me different. Things improve, as time goes on, things will improve. So there's definitely things we can actually improve with the actual ankle lock. The ankle lock is actually very useful for many different reasons. One reason is the grip itself allows good attachment to our partner. Heel hook is very useful to us if we actually control the hips. Okay, control the knee and the hips. Heel hook is devastating, and it's the quicker submission. The problem is if I don't get control of his hips, then he can start to spin and roll and start to escape. We see this all the time. The ankle lock grip is actually making, again, a bit of a comeback, because once people start to understand that once you get this grip, there is no reason why if I don't need to have really control of his hips. And as a matter of fact, doing an ankle lock and going belly down, I don't really have control of his hips, right? If I go this direction and I just turn belly down, and I can't do it with this here, but if I go belly down, I can actually hip in, and I don't need to be wrapped around his legs, basically, okay? So just keep this in mind that when you have this grip, I don't necessarily anymore have to go for a leg lock. Like if I do this and I'm put my foot here, and then James bounces over my foot, and I'm like, oh man, I could just come up and come forward, okay, and start to try to pass, but I don't need to let go of this. We start to go around here, and I'm looking around, and then I'm going to go back to it. Okay, this is what the grip is really being used. Somebody tries to stand back up, well, I got your leg, all right? Got the leg. He can't actually get up. I can actually start to wrestle up before him, and this becomes a problem, okay? So just keep in mind, the ankle lock is actually very useful for, simply put, I can go forward with the ankle lock. We all think about going backwards with the ankle lock and turning this way and going with the ankle lock. But if James does a good job of defending and he's just not tapping, and I'm like, oh man, I can't get this, I'm actually going to go forward. And as a matter of fact, this produces even worse ankle locks because it creates rotational ankle locks with me going forward, okay? So, the basic ankle lock. What we're going to do is start from A1 position, Ashigarami position. Remember, I want to be very tight here. I don't want to be extending yet. I want to be pulling in to eliminate as much space and clamping my knees together, okay? My heel, I have good placement with my heel. And now it's all about the grip, okay? The ankle lock position, you get it, you're either going to get it or not based off your grip, okay? So I'm going to open up here. This is the position we want, but I'm going to open up to show the grip. If you look at the foot, the closer you can get to his heel, what we used to call the zipping down, if I zip down, zip, and his heel stops me, this is what I want. That means I'm in very good braking position. Understand the braking position is a very small window here. It's probably about from here to here, okay? When we start to move up in here, where the calf ends, in this direction, this ends up just being kind of a painful thing, okay? It hurts, you can get taps from it. If you're smaller, it's gonna hurt your wrist, and you probably won't get the tap with the guy with the bigger leg. I've done this many times. A guy with a big leg ended up hurting my arm before it actually hurts his leg. Not only that, but even if I was trying to do this, I'm not going to break his shin in half. Now, I've seen the baseball bat challenges and all that, but besides those guys, maybe, I don't know if they're playing some trickery on me, but where they break baseball bats with their legs like this. Besides those guys, it'd be very hard for me to break his shin in half with my wrist, basically, with my forearm here, producing this amount of pressure. Using this, going this direction and producing basically an ankle lock type of pressure. My arm is not in the correct placement. This is just going to produce pain. But again, this can be, if he has a bigger leg and a big calf, this is just going to hurt your arm. So just understand what we're trying to get first. So when I do this and I zip back, our first ankle lock method is going to be putting the the Achilles in this space from your wrist to about here. This is going to be the first method of breaking the ankle. The second method we're going to use is using the pillow part of our arm. So there's the blade part of our arm, and there's the pillow part of our arm. Okay, so the first method is blade. When I place and I zip and I place that blade here, I can feel that the bone is the blade of my wrist, the bone is cutting into his Achilles, okay? I'm going to reinforce this grip with my outside hand. I have found, at least in no-gi, that I go for an overhand grip, and I pull up, almost like you want to do a guillotine, like a Marcellotine. I want to pull this up. So I've seen guys do this. I just don't find this as strong when you do this. I find a pulling method much stronger than a pushing method with this particular way of doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift, we're going to reinforce. I'm going to make sure I shrug and get this leg as high up into my arm as possible. Once I shrug and I get this reinforced here, this does not drop. So you'll know that you'll start to lose the ankle lock. If my arm starts to fall as I'm trying to do the ankle lock, I lose all the pressure on the foot. So I need to keep this shrug and reinforce that shrug. Okay, so now we're up. The blade is across the Achilles. So now I feel like it's good. Your last step is going to take your elbow and rotate it behind your back. We call this doing the Arnold to show like the bicep of the, when he uses that little thing to show his bicep, right? So it's the same thing. I'm lifting, rotating, and then I'm gonna do the Arnold, and I'm gonna rotate. And this is what's gonna actually produce the break. Okay? Understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to bend the leg forward and break it in this direction. So now when I add my legs and all that together, I get to this position. I get the Achilles, I get to my Marcellotine, I reinforce everything, I got my shrug, I place my elbow on the ground, I got the space sucked out, I got connection, okay? You'll know you'll have it because as soon as I start to move just a little bit, his butt will start to raise off the ground. They start to raise their butt. The reason why they're raising their butt is obviously to reduce the pressure on the leg, and this is certainly the case. It will work, but the problem is that I'm going in a direction that's belly down, and he can't raise his leg once I start to cross, or raise his butt once I start to cross over. But let's just test this out real quick. The Arnold is the last step, right? So I want to take this elbow and start to put it behind me. The better you get at this when you land, it'll automatically go behind you. But as you're practicing this, I'm going to loosen up the leg here. As you practice this, try to see how many steps you can make to put the elbow behind the back. So before he taps. So I'll go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's the tap. So you see that the closer my elbow got to basically my butt, the tighter this leg lock started to get, this ankle lock. So if I'm like this and I'm here, I'm stuck in here, I could just fall. So if I'm like, I grab the leg, I'm like, boom, boom, and I automatically fall to the leg. Sorry, I automatically fall to the leg to finish the ankle lock. I could just dive my elbow underneath me to just land into the finish, okay? And of course, without the, I'm not going to crank on the leg anymore here, but if I wanted to go full rotation with this, what this will look like when I release the leg is this is the motion I'm trying to produce. Okay, so you can see the legs over here. It should be back here behind me. Okay, so that's the complete motion you're trying to achieve with that particular ankle lock. So again, this is we call it the blade ankle lock. This is where we're using our blade of our arm. The next ankle lock I'm going to show is going to be using the pillow part, which is technically probably the stronger ankle lock. All right, so we're going to do the second ankle lock, and again, remember the blade was the first one we did. The second one we're going to use the pillow. So putting my arm all the way through shouldn't bother our opponent at all because it's the pillow. Feels kind of nice. So we're here, and again, I still want to zip down to get as close to his Achilles as I possibly can. Now I'm here. I get the shrug. I reinforce. Now here's the trick with this particular ankle lock. A lot of guys, they teach this to do this, and then they just kind of go back and they try to finish, and you might get it. You might get it. But if we just turn here for a second so you can see behind me, I want you to look at his foot. There we go. You should be able to see his whole foot, but I just want you to observe his heel, what's happening to his heel. If I do this, I may be able to produce it, right? But watch what happens when I actually take his heel and I hide it a little bit. Okay, when I hide it a little bit, this actually produces way more pressure, okay? It's just because now all the pressure is on the top of the foot here, all right? So the secret the secret to this is putting the heel kind of on my rib cage here. Once I get it there, then I can start to do everything the same way I did before. I shrink into the ankle lock and I rotate. Yep. So,
This way.
yep. So again, I have the ankle lock position. And again, my legs are loose here, just so we can kind of see what's opening, what's happening. I'm reaching through, I'm reinforcing. I take his heel and I hide it on my rib cage. You don't need to force his leg through. The method you should be using is sinking yourself back. That's all you want to do. You want to sink your chest back a little bit, and that puts the heel where it needs to go. I reinforce this with the grip. I reinforce here, here, and then I sink in, and then I rotate, and this produces a very quick ankle lock. This is going to be using the pillow part of your arm instead of the blade part of your arm. So the secret to using the pillow part to finishing an ankle lock using the pillow part of your arm is to hide the heel on your rib cage right here, and then it's actually technically a much stronger and tighter finish.